Hi everyone, it's me, West Coast Mom, and I'm putting some finishing touches on some triangle scarves that I made out of Karen cakes. So I'm looking at two different ways of putting tassels on the end because I just think it looks a little bit more finished. It adds a little bit of sort of flair to the item, and I have a little bit of leftover yarn, and so I thought this just adds kind of a nice finishing touch. There's two different ways of doing it. This is kind of a more traditional tassel where it's kind of tied there, and this one is kind of looped over, kind of like how I think of those, you know, those bookmarks where they have the yarn for the top part on top of the cardboard, and that's how that's applied. So two different looks, two different tassels. All right, so let's make some tassels. Okay, so let's make the first tassel. The first one will be what I've used on this brown one, which looks like the bookmark sort of style. Alright, so this is a piece of cardboard. It is 5 inches tall, and what I do is you just take your yarn and you wind it round and round and round and round and round so it looks kind of like this. This is the purple one in preparation. Then I cut one end, either the top or the bottom, not both, but just one end, and when it comes off the cardboard it looks like this. So basically it is a pile of long strips, and you just wind it around the cardboard so that they're all more or less the same length. But if it's not perfect, that's okay because you're going to trim it later. So the end of my triangle scarf has this sort of hole here, and I'm going to loop the tassel through that. So what I'm going to do is fold this in half, right? But I need to keep the loop free. I'm going to use a big hook. This is a 6mm hook, and I'm going to put the hook through the hole, and I'm going to use this to pull everything through. So I've got it through that little loop, the top, and then I'm just going to pull everything through very carefully. I still want to maintain that loop. There it is. And all these ends are going to fold over and go inside of that. So I'm going to try, and you want to try and do this in sort of one fell swoop. Because if you miss some, like I did there, it doesn't work out. Alright, so it's that one loop. There you go. And then you need to fuss with a little bit. That's the back. Pull everything down. You want to neaten and tidy it up so that it looks all nice and smooth. Alright, and then what you do is the end, you just need to trim it with some scissors so it's all the same length. And you can fuss with it as much or as little as you want. Make them all nice and even. You want to make sure both sides are the same length. And there you go. There is a tassel on the end of your scarf. Alright, so now we're going to do this other style of tassel. This is the one on the purple scarf. It is a little bit different because it's tied down here, and so it almost looks bell-like. And then it's also tied onto the scarf. That's how you attach it. So same thing, 5-inch piece of cardboard, wrap it around and round and round. You also need a couple of scrap ends. These are just ends left over from my yarn. One happens to be longer than the other, but you can make it long as well. So the last one we cut off. This one we don't cut right away. What we want to do is the top end, and I say that's the top because my finished end is on the bottom here. So on the top end, we need to tie together. So I'm going to put this piece of yarn in. This one is longer. I did this one longer because this is the one that's going to attach to the actual scarf. And I tie as tight a knot as I can. And I do it a couple times just to make sure it's nice and strong and sturdy and tight. So it's tied at the top there. Now I'm going to ease this off my cardboard. This top is the end that holds it together, and this will also attach it to the actual scarf. Alright, so now we want to create that little sort of bell part in there. And so with this piece of yarn, I'm going to tie that and create that sort of extra little detail there. So this is a small piece of yarn, but you can make it a little bit bigger. I was just being very frugal with my yarn, and that's all I had left. And you want to tie it as tight as possible so that it creates that little sort of bell shape, and you could tie it a couple times. All right, here we go. Now the ends, you just need to kind of fuss with it and tuck it in and around so that you don't see it. You could also put it towards the back. I'm just gonna straighten everything out. And then you can actually see the little sort of shape of the bell forming. And then all that's left to do now is to open it up at the bottom because it was looped. So I have my big sewing scissors here, and I'm going to cut that. Sometimes I miss, there's an extra loop. All right, and so that's my little bell. Here's the little end that I tied. I'm just gonna tuck that under. Like I said, you can kind of fuss with it. Just straighten it out, make it look the way you want. I can also hide that in the back. All right, so now I'm going to attach this to my scarf. And just like the last other scarf, I find the very corner and there's a loop there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tuck those two strings in. So it's like this now. And I'm just going to tie it to the scarf. And so that it kind of dangles and hangs. And I'm going to tie this as tight as I can. And I'm going to do it a couple times because I want to make sure it doesn't fall off. Make sure you get it high up. See, mine's a little, see, it's way down there, but you can cinch it up. Oops, let's try that again. It gets tangled up, and it doesn't help that I'm using dark yarn because it's hard to see. All right, let's use that hook again like we did last time. Instead, I put the hook through there. I'm going to put those two pieces of yarn through. There we go. So you're going to cinch it up as tight as possible. I'm going to tie it and try to make it short. That was once. I'm going to tie it again. That's twice, which is a knot, but I'm going to do it one more time just to be on the safe side. And there you have it. Now I do have these little ends, they will be woven in, but I have these two little tassels now on the end of my scarf. And there you have it, 2 ways of doing it. This one is marginally more difficult because there's an extra step. I can use this opportunity to sort of comb it out, and oh, you can see that I missed a couple of loops here. And I can also trim it so that they're nice and even. There's another loop. This one I made a little bit fluffier because I had more leftover yarn, and so these tassels are a little bit bigger, but it's really up to personal preference and how much yarn you have left. So there you go, so there's that, and then I can trim it nice and even. Give it a little bit of a haircut. You can trim it, like I said, you can fuss with it, and there you go. 2 tassels on the end. I just have to weave in these little ends, and that's easy to do, and then trim any excess off. So there you go. 2 very easy ways of adding tassels onto a triangle scarf. Thanks for watching.